All right, so I'm here with Jordan Barone, Paul Rice, and Sam Berman from the band King Catfish from Pittsburgh, PA. How you guys doing?
Good, man.
Pretty good, man.
Awesome, awesome. So how's quarantine life treating you? I know in like PA things are kind of getting a little bit, life's getting a little bit easier right now. But I mean, how are you guys doing with this whole situation?
Pretty good. It was a rough start, pretty crazy, pretty intense, but things have kind of laxed.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird. It's difficult being a performing band right now, and especially you guys are just relatively early in your career right now as a band, and it's difficult because we rely so much on doing shows, and we rely on trying. We have to release content right now just to stay in the public awareness. It's a complicated period of time. In preparation for this interview, I listened to your debut album, Americancer, which is being released on July 3rd. That's very exciting, and congratulations, guys. I
Thank
really,
you.
yeah, fuck yeah. I really enjoyed this album a lot.
Wakanda forever.
Yeah.
The international sign for thank you, actually.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
This is really interesting stuff that you guys are doing because it's grunge, quote end quote, but I mean you are mixing a variety of different genres at the same time. Like there's moments on the album that are a lot more surprising and kind of out of left field, and it's very interesting how you're sort of blending these different elements from these different musical genres, and that's really cool because it's nice to evolve the grunge genre, like
Yeah.
and that's really cool that on your first album you guys are doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So for those that aren't familiar with your music, how would you personally describe it?
I would say it's kind of like a reggae-ish. Like, I mean, a lot of our music kind of has like a '90s feel, even. Like, I mean, I know it's like it is grunge, but there's like the feeling of almost like reggae and funk at times, and then we try to just incorporate just music that we think sounds good. Really, that at the end of it, it's kind of hard to describe, but I mean, we try to kind of get out of the genre boundaries and just kind of incorporate whatever.
Yeah, like we all kind of bring a different slice to the pie, like a different piece of pie to the table with our influences, but we have common denominators within music. But yeah, definitely we kind of alternative rock with a grunge, punk, and funk influence, a heavy grunge, punk, and funk influence. Definitely some reggae too. Not so much on the album, but our next album actually has a lot of reggae influence.
More stuff in the works.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's cool to be combining all of those different types of music, and also it gets pretty heavy too. I mean, like it gets in almost like a thrash kind of metal-y territory in certain
We
spots.
love metal. So.
Yeah. So do I.
High energy is like what we go for, especially when we play live. Like we're fucking dancing and sweating and just throwing our bodies and guitars around, and sometimes like I'll jump in and mosh with the mosh pits, and yeah, it gets intense.
Fuck yeah, man. Yeah, I love I love metal. I listen to like classical music and then like death metal. So it's yeah. I don't know why I just mentioned that. So where did you guys get your start as a band? Because on Facebook it says that you started out by sort of jamming in 2016-ish, but you didn't start performing until 2019, right?
Yeah, I think we played like some really private shows that were like super butt at first. You know how your first couple gigs are. But yeah, when we started 2019 in January, it was me, Paul, and Vanessa, and she was our drummer, and we went to Detroit and Bowling Green, and that was the start of like official King Catfish, like playing out, like really,
we really found our sound at that point with Vanessa also. So it was like that was kind of a defining feature too. That's where a lot of the metal influence kind of comes in.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for sure.
Before that, it was a little easier going,
more like rock
Now,
music.
we didn't leave much of an impression, let's say.
I'm curious, where did the name King Catfish come from?
I'll answer this one, I guess. Our old bassist Brian, who's actually a guitar player, but he just stepped in to play bass like a gentleman and a good guy. He kind of pulled it from Tinder. King Catfish kind of came from Tinder. He was like, it was like Kings of the Catfish, and then we shortened and sweetened it to King Catfish. But yeah, basically Tinder.
Is it referring to the animal catfish or the act of catfishing?
Well, so where it came from was the act of catfish, but now it's more like king faux, king fake, because like
king bottom feeder.
Yeah, we're just like we like to think and like talk about like America and like the world being so plastic and superficial, and like catfish is kind of just like, you know, faux or fake or, you know, not real, superficial, and
Probably shouldn't eat it, but it doesn't taste too bad.
something like that.
What was the first song you guys actually wrote as a band?
Oh, Grapes to Wine. It's actually out. We recorded with a producer a long time ago. And it's actually on Spotify and like YouTube and stuff like that. It's not a part of this upcoming album, but we are planning to remix it for the next album, and add some horns to it and make it like real funky.
Oh, that's cool. Kind of like a ska sort of thing, or
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
gotcha.
We like the genre blend. So
Yeah, fuck yeah, man. I'm curious, what are some major musical influences as a collective that you guys have?
well, we definitely love the Chili Peppers.
Red Hot Chili Peppers is what first came to my mind.
Sam knows a lot of Chili
That's
Peppers.
definitely-
Maybe more actually than I do, which is awesome.
Gotcha. Well, so obviously Nirvana and a mix of other stuff. So, I guess what would be some of the most abstract influences that you guys have?
Well, for me, abstract. I mean, I like all kinds of music. I know that's like the most basic thing to say, but like I love Glassy Animals. They're like a British just vibe band. They're so chill and so like just like feels, just hits you right in the feels all the time, and it's like good, upbeat, happy music. But then I also love like As I Lay Dying, which is like, you know, used to be Christian death metal or Christian metal, and now it's just like you know, I don't know if you know what happened with that guy, but we won't get into that.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
No bueno.
I like a lot of stuff. These guys have, you know, like way different musical influences than me.
So like I work as a DJ, for instance, so my music influence kind of it comes from everywhere. I'd say even like I would say a lot of like Old Town Motown, dude. I love Motown.
That's good.
Well,
Yeah.
How has DJing influenced you, Paul? Like as far as what you bring to this band?
I mean my style can vary a lot. I do play. I feel like I try to, you know, play along with how the song feels. But there are moments where I kind of diverge and will get maybe like a little funky or a little jazzy on the bass line. Like John Entwistle was probably like my biggest bass influence. So I kind of like some of those runs and stuff really come from that, I feel like.
So obviously politics are an influence and you know, social discourse and all this stuff. If you had to sort of categorize it, what are some non-musical influences that you guys have? So it can be concepts, ideas, art, you know.
Sam, you want to take this one?
I gotta think on that real quick.
Give him the hardest question.
Yeah.
I know I like going to art museums and checking out art by like Salvador Dali and even like Jackson Pollock, you know, Andy Warhol. I mean, even sometimes I mean like it's punk. Like I always feel like Andy Warhol's art is like punk. Like it's so punk.
It's real. It's very real.
But that surrealism, you know, Like I know I like surrealism and some like the kind of art styles that really like differentiate from everything else.
Have you ever heard of Francis Bacon?
No.
So it's surrealism, but it's really brutal, like dark surrealism. Like, and if you look into his life, it's like it's super messed up, you know. I'll send you guys I'll send you guys a documentary about him after this, but
That sounds great.
yeah, super cool stuff. So what about politics? I know that's a complicated thing to talk about, but I mean, I guess just as an artist, how like it seems that you're gravitating towards politics, or at least social issues as a topic. What gravitated you towards that?
Well, I mean, it's not just the recent stuff going on, but I mean, this recent stuff is definitely a cherry on top. And it couldn't have been a more appropriate time for us to release Americancer. Really, I mean, it's weird to say, like, we're human beings. Like, it starts with that. We're just humans trying to, you know, be good to each other and like portray a good message. I know we mentioned, or I mentioned this a lot. I think our biggest sword in this fight, like our biggest weapon, is like our microphone and our instruments. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know, sure, we're into the protests, and you know, me and Sam have joined and been down there. But you know, I think our biggest sword in the battle is, you know, him behind the drum set, me on a microphone, and you know, writing, and you know, and just trying to rock, and then you know, show people how to be human.
Yeah.
Like how to be good humans, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's interesting being an artist, I guess, in society. I know that's a super vague thing to say, but it is strange being an artist and trying to, and a lot of people view artists as they don't have a real impact, like they're not, you know, they don't physically do anything, and so therefore they don't matter, or they don't contribute to society. But I mean, it's really the opposite of that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the role of an artist almost is to create a place where you can freely express yourself and think freely. And, you know, in the world of politics, in the world of, you know, insert title here, you know, the role of that is almost the opposite, where, you know, you're trying to think in a system, you're trying to think in a mode or a logic, and you don't have that ability. Oh, what if we just think alternatively, or we experiment, you know? And that's the role of an artist. And I think, you know, that makes a huge difference, and I wish more people would see that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we definitely want people to relate, but we don't write music with the intentions of like trying to get people to relate. It's more like, this is how we feel, and if people would relate to it, that's awesome. But like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, we're not writing music for people to like it. It's like our expression of, you know, how we feel about stuff. And if people can relate, or they like it, like that's, you know, that's great. But that's like kind of a secondary thing for us. You know what I mean? It's more about just getting how we feel out there. You know what I mean? And you know, in our own special, you know, paint. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. So speaking of that, where did the name for Americancer come from?
I think you thought of it, right? Or was it me?
I have no idea, to be honest. I think it was like, I know we were taught, like, it was one of those moments where
Light
like
bulb.
we were just
It's a light bulb.
talking, and it was just kind of like Americancer.
At one point, when everything was getting canceled, Paul was like, "Americanceled." that was a thing. Actually, so Americancer, the title track, was called "This Song" for a long time, which wasn't cutting it. I mean, that's like about a girl, which, no, it's actually not that cool. That was first. It was Americancer, the song, and then we're like, oh, we can kind of blanket all these songs under Americancer. And yeah, there's actually another album out called Americancer by, I'm pretty sure, they're a European band. That's I'm going to be really vague and say European band. I listened to it. It was pretty fucking cool, but way different than us. Completely different kind of thing. So I don't feel like we were stepping on anybody's toes. And it was an original thought too. Like we didn't like find that and then rip them. So
there's what 7 billion people in the world, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. So there's you can only use so many words, but I mean the point is that you are this band with this label with this music, and that's what that's what separates you guys. So Jordan, I read on Facebook Kurt Cobain was a starting influence, and so what can you say about that as far as his impact on your music?
Yeah, huge. So basically, like I was like 7th grader, just starting middle school, and I would go to school and see all these like older kids that were cool, and they had all these T-shirts, and one of the cool kids had like a Nirvana T-shirt on. So my mom's boyfriend at the time like had this big Rubbermaid container of CDs, and all of these dank CDs were in there, including Nirvana. And I remember when I put on Nevermind on my computer, I put the disc in my computer, and I was like hearing Kurt scream on that first track, Smells Like Teen Spirit. Immediately I was like, oh my God, this is like what I want to do with my life. Like I need to play a guitar. Immediately I wanted to play a guitar. That's when I first got my guitar. That following Christmas of 7th grade, my mom bought me my first Fender Squire. And just I've been a huge fan. Kurt is, a humongous influence. And basically like now for me, music, I wanted to write music that someday some 7th grader is going to hear our shit and be like, oh fuck, I need to play guitar because of that album, which anything that we write, that's like my life goal with music. And so that's like beginning to end with it.
Yeah, and that's a very admirable ambition. I mean, I can definitely hear the Nirvana in the music, but it's not Nirvana. There's a lot of different other elements to it, but you can definitely hear the influence, and especially in your voice, which I'll get into in a second. So Sam, hello Sam. So you're in 2 bands as other bands as well, Knox Boys and Summer Camp. What can you say about those bands?
Yeah.
Well, Knox Boys I've been in since we formed that in high school, my junior year of high school, and that's garage rock. So we just we have 2 albums out. We were all a label in Pittsburgh called Get Hip Records. So we've been, right before the pandemic started, we were supposed to tour overseas, Spain and Italy, but COVID-19 just kind of destroyed those plans. Gotcha. I was actually on tour with them back in March, like as this was all kind of progressing. So we decided to cancel the rest of the tour and head back.
You were in like California,
weren't you?
Like
LA.
Gotcha.
Played one last year in San Diego, and then I tailed it back. And then Summer Camp's more like indie alternative rock. I joined that 2.5 years ago.
Gotcha.
But that's like the 2 bands are total like opposite when it comes to the actual music and vibe and style.
So I want to talk about songs. Let's talk about the first single you released, Neptune Street.
I can't sleep at night, and I wake. Why must I be like this? Is anyone like me?
Where did the name come from for that song?
Well, there's a spot, I don't know if you've ever driven from Mount Washington to down by West
Tarzan's house.
To Tarzan's house. I don't know if you've ever done that, but it's in the West End. There is a street called Neptune Street, and I've passed it myself a number of occasions, even before being in the band, because I used to go down to see CAC Maine. That's a great shortcut to get to West End Bridge. I don't know if anyone knows that. Anyways, Neptune Street's there, and it's just it's a cool street name. Is pretty much all I can gather.
So the main riff in that song, so that you sort of start out with, how did you come up with that riff? And do you remember when that was?
Kind of fucking around, just like, almost, I guess, every song really. I know we were jamming with this dude Luke. He was playing drums for us temporarily between Vanessa and Tarzan, and he came up with a bridge that's like the "Can I Be Alone." He came up with that guitar part. He came up with something that was real similar to that. But the main riff, it just kind of came from just vibes. Just it's definitely like it's high energy and it's almost angry. You know what I mean? It's an angry kind of like aggressive kind of riff.
It's chromatic.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of riffs in your music. There's these weird melodic and harmonic choices that are very interesting. So what's the song about lyrically?
Well, we're actually releasing a music video, probably gonna be finished about 2 weeks after the album comes out. So that'll help explain it, but I can touch on it now for sure. Basically it's about like, so it starts off like I can't sleep at night. It's less about like me having like trouble issues like sleeping, like any kind of like health issues, and more about like what's just kind of going on with everything else other than us. It like kind of just like fucks us up, and you know, I don't know that I literally lose sleep over it, but metaphorically, like, you know, lose sleep over just the injustices that are happening. Not to sound like too fucking whatever, but like, you know, just the terrible stuff that is going on in the world. Quarantine had a big part of it too. It's definitely about quarantine and isolation. I live alone, so when quarantine hit, it was like seriously terrible. Like living alone, like it was rough. It was like being in like solitaire in prison or something, you know, like, you know, where you start to like, the only person you're talking to is yourself. And it's like, Jesus, this is getting rough.
Yeah.
So some of the lyrics kind of came out of isolation.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm interested in this line. So, well, lately I've seen some strange things, some strange me's, right? And I'm interested by that very last part. So what does that mean? Like the very, especially that last line, some strange me's. What does that mean?
Yeah, it goes right back to the isolation. Just being alone and not having roommates. You really like start to see like different sides of yourself come out when you're just like alone for so long. And you know, you basically, for the first month of quarantine, I started off playing a ton of guitar, but then it dropped and I got depressed, and I was like, just, it was terrible. And then about a month into it, I decided like that it was all like a decision to be depressed. Not necessarily for everybody, but for me at that time, I was done with being low and being depressed, and I started making better choices in my life and cleaning up a lot of acts, if you will. Yeah, some strange me's. It's like, yeah, it's kind of about like the lows to the highs, you know what I mean? Like some just strange shit that, you know, comes out of isolation, and some strange thoughts that you kind of have, basically.
Yeah, and that's another depressing thing to think about. Like another depressing thing, where all of these people that you know, struggle with either mental illness or with, you know, depression, etc. You know, this is like a perfect situation to heighten those issues, you know, and like,
Yeah.
and that's especially with musicians too. I mean, and so I mean, it's very real, and it's important to, you know, be able to talk about that too. I'm going to something completely different, but so towards the end of the song, this is sort of I'm questioning a vocal decision. So I like it very much, but so there's a line, oh why, and you're skipping down by like a tritone, like why? Why did you make that decision? I'm just interested in it.
Honestly, that would be like not a whole lot of musical theory answer. It would be more like an Anthony Kiedis just vibe. Just, it felt the way it felt. You know what I mean?
So the next song I want to talk about is Push, which is the second single. So in the beginning, in the intro, there's this kind of groovy, sexy, like funk sort of vibe going on, and it goes throughout the song. And I'm wondering, you talk about Red Hot Chili Peppers. Do you have any like jam band influences, or like where does that funk influence come from?
Paul. He's the funk. He brings the funk.
I don't know, man. Wild Cherry.
That's fair.
My dad was a huge Grateful Dead fan, which led me into like getting into it. I'm not like a crazy big Deadhead, but you mentioned jam bands. I definitely am like I mean, I like live music, and jam bands are just, they're out there. So I've seen and been a part, like of a ton of concerts. Not a part of, but just attended a ton of jam band concerts.
So what's this song about? I mean, just in a brief summary, I guess.
Pushing ourselves.
That one, I don't find a ton of true meaning like in the lyrics. More just like it sounded cool. The lyrics sounded cool, and kind of leave it open and real like vague for interpretation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I didn't write the lyrics, but to me, if it's like about like pushing ourselves.
Gotcha.
It's like, now it's my turn, to act like a fool. It's like sometimes you got to put yourself out there and kind of feel foolish, but that's how you get out there. That's how you push yourself.
I changed my answer. That's it, actually.
I mean, that's the cool thing about writing lyrics that can be ambiguous. It's like it can inspire people in a bunch of different ways. And that's almost like preferable sometimes. It's like instead of having like this one meaning and that's what it means, it's like it's cool to kind of like leave it up for interpretation, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of our lyrics are like that. Like we keep them specifically vague. Just so like one specific song, like I say it's about a pork chop, and it really was like written about a pork chop, like like a piece of meat. But it's like so vague that it's like about love or drugs, whatever, pork chop, whatever you want. I don't like to tell people like, hey, this song's about a pork chop, because then you're just like, okay, I can see how, yep, and you're trying to line everything up about it being a pork chop, but and I think it's cooler to just like let people interpret songs themselves.
Yeah.
And if it means something to somebody, then that's like awesome, and I can just be like, actually, it's about a pork chop, but cool.
I'm gonna, after this interview, I'm gonna try to guess which song is about the pork chop. There's a weird vocal inflection. It's like a minute-ish into the song. So, well, now it's my turn to look like a fool. And when you say fool, it's like fool.
Well, now it's my turn to look like a fool.
Weird, vocal vibration. It sounds kind of like a goat almost, And I'm wondering, yeah. And it's like, and so I guess, was there any reason for that? Like was it conscious, or was it just, did it sound cool?
It just felt. I don't know how familiar you are with the Chili Peppers or Anthony Kiedis, but I go back to him because he really has no musical theory. He doesn't really play any instruments. It's all just vibes, and like I think they're one of the best lyrical bands out there. I mean, not necessarily the meaning of the lyrics, but like the melodies and the way he sings. But I mean, tons of people talk smack on the way he sings. But I think he's like one of the best singers alive.
I'm interested in this song, like the drum work in this song, like throughout your music, the drums are very interesting. And I'm wondering, Sam, even though you're relatively new, I'm wondering, what are some major drum influences for you? And what are some things that you try to apply to the music?
It's always hard to pick favorites, I think, with drummers, but I probably like a lot of the old school legends like John Bonham, and I even like Keith Moon a little bit, but I'm also really into like more modern drummers. I mean, I did like Neil Peart and like Stuart Copeland of the Police. drummers are very technical and didn't exactly overplay, but it added a lot to the music. Like they played the drums as a lead instrument.
Gotcha. I want to move on to the beginning track, Weird One.
She's gonna need you, needing to feed you someday.
In the beginning, there's this interesting kind of, it's like riff, but chord and harmony choices. It's another thing that moves down by a tritone, and you're ending on like a major chord. And so, like, how much of writing for guitar, Jordan, is based off of ear and like thinking about the notes, like versus thinking about the notes?
So that one specifically, I wrote it a long time ago, and then it's evolved like literally for years and years until like we finally recorded it. So it really, it's like where at in time, like, did it like change? Because I really started focusing on like music theory and, you know, playing a lot of lead guitar like these last like couple years. But like for the first like 10 years of my guitar career or guitar playing, I was basically just kind of a rhythm guitarist, like with, you know, and writing lyrics. But like I said, the last couple years I've been focusing on more like lead kind of stuff. And it's just really opened up a lot of doors, given me a lot of tools to use. And like I said, the song has kind of evolved just with my evolution as a guitar player.
Gotcha. I mean, that's interesting to hear that you transitioned from like a rhythm more towards to a lead player, because the way that you play definitely covers both bases. Like you have a very cool sort of style that balances out between rhythm and lead, and it works out very well. I think it works especially for a 3-piece setting, you know?
Thank you.
No problem. And the song Love Buzz. There's a really interesting dual guitar solo at the end. And it gets to the point of like the harmony in that solo gets like chaotic almost. And I'm wondering, how do you approach soloing right now, and especially harmonizing in your soloing?
So that one was like a different kind of approach. The rest of the songs, I feel like I kind of stick to like my scales, you know what I mean? Like my go-to scales, you know, my minor pentatonic, my minor scales. But that one, I was really just messing around in the studio with a phaser. I don't know if you can hear that like kind of sound. And then I played something over top of that. And like you said, chaotic was a great description. And it kind of does like just get real dirty, but also like dissonant. And honestly, I was like, wow, this sounds awesome. That wasn't like how I play it live, because obviously there's two guitars, so I can't have that like dissonance of, you know, two guitars when I'm just one guitar player. But yeah, when we were in the studio, it just kind of came out like that, and I really liked it. I questioned it a little bit, but then I was like, oh no, this is like the perfect amount of dirty. It's the perfect amount of grit.
Yeah, I think it was a great decision. Like the solo, it's an interesting dual guitar solo, because it's not, there's some choices in there that like harmonically are really kind of out there, and I think it ends up being very effective. Speaking of harmony, in the song Right Now, there's a vocal harmony on the lyrics, The Way I Feel, and on the word feel, you sing like a fourth kind of harmony. What influences you guys as far as like vocal harmonies?
Well, vocal harmonies, I kind of leave that up to Paul. I feel like I kind of just write my vocals, and then Paul just kind of comes in, and and most of the time, we're like, oh, that's awesome. Sometimes we'll be like, no, we don't, that's not working. But most of the time, like, I'm just like, killed it, man. That your vocal harmonies like really complement, but also like will branch off and go different. But also like they I don't know, it just makes a good melody. I think they do. I think they make good melodies.
Gotcha.
Which is cool, because like sometimes we talk about trying to make one voice where we both sing, and we try to have one powerful harmony voice, but then we also have that branch out where it's like this dissonance, and it's like there's a separation of our voices, and you can hear both of us separately, which I think is really cool too. Both two tools that we like to use, appropriately.
Yeah. So to clarify, like, so Jordan, are you thinking about melody mostly, and Paul, you're thinking about the harmonies, like, or is it less clear than that? Like,
mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that nails it, kind of.
Cool. And another song in Waiting, the like same thing where the harmonies in the chorus are like beautiful. It's this really cool texture, that you guys create.
I'll be there waiting, and all the best.
And speaking of waiting, I was really surprised when I heard the opening riff to that song, like, and then it goes throughout. But this main riff that almost sounds like John Frusciante and math rock, almost like had a baby.
Yeah, I like that you brought up John Frusciante, because he's my favorite guitarist ever, biggest guitar influence by far. That was another one that kind of evolved over the span. Actually, so it just started off with a G major open chord, ding ding ding, getting ding to an A, ding ding to a C, ding ding, and then as I really just kind of progressed in my guitar playing, my lead especially, that ding 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 ding, that's where it just kind of came from, just messing around, and I was like, oh, I can play these chords while playing, these open chords, but like make them lead and like shreddy a little bit, not shreddy, but like riffy.
That's what I have for the songs. So your first album, Americancer, that's super exciting. So it's coming out on July 3rd. It's your debut album. So where can people find you, and what would you like to say to new fans that are hearing your music for the first time?
Well, I would say just check us out. We're new music, and new music is good. It's repetition is good too, but growth as human beings is with new stuff, and check us out. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, Pandora, anywhere that like DistroKid puts music. I'm pretty sure Deezer's on there as well. Bandcamp, we're on Bandcamp. Spotify, I don't know if I said that one.
That's okay. There's so many. I mean, there's so many to keep track of.
Anywhere you listen to music, basically. We're also selling physical CDs too. So check our Facebook out or Instagram for links of all that.
Awesome. Yeah, people need to buy more physical CDs.
Our album's actually eco-friendly too. Like the plastic in it is all like recycled and like recyclable stuff, which is super awesome.
Fuck yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, Atomic Disc has like all kinds of really cool plays, real cool stuff. It's like atomicdisc.com. Definitely want to shout those guys out.
Awesome. So King Catfish from Pittsburgh, PA. Thank you guys so much. So Americancer, it's coming out on July 3rd. Buy it. Everyone go listen to it. Thank you guys. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
All right, man. Take care.
Have a good night, man.